My name is Vidhanshu, and today in this video we'll be covering prerequisites required for data structures and algorithm. So in this video we'll be covering these topics, which includes basic data types in C++, input-output operations in C++, conditional statements and loops, functions in C++, operators in C++, then pointers and references, and finally we'll be covering classes and objects. So let's get started with the basic data types in C++. So first of all, what is a data type? Data type is nothing but a kind of data which you want to store in the memory. So let's see which kind of basic data types are there in C++. So we have integer kind of data type, then we have character, then we have float, then we have double, then we have boolean, and then we have boolean is also written as bool. Then we have string, but string is not a basic data type. It is an improvement in C++. Like in C, if you are coming from C, you know that in C the string was declared as a character array, but in C++ we are having a direct string data type. So we'll also be covering this one. So let's get started with the integer data type. Integer data type is used to store the integer kind of data. Suppose to create a variable of integer data type, we'll first give the data type name, then we'll give the name of the variable. Suppose I'm giving the variable name, then you can store any kind of integer value in it. But each integer variable is having some range, because integer takes 4 bytes of storage in memory. So it is having a range of 10 to the power 9. You don't need to remember exact value. You can remember it as 10 raised to 9. So you can store 10 raised to 9 order of data in integer kind of variable. So this is how you declare the integer variable. This is a syntax. What does this syntax mean? Create a variable whose name is name and its data type is integer and store 12 in it. So this is the meaning of the fifth line. Now let's move towards the character data type. Character data type is also declared in the same way as you declare the integer. Suppose I'm giving a name ch, and character is a single character, so it is written inside the single quote. So character is nothing but a single unit of the string. Suppose namespace is a string, so character is a single unit of that string, which may be a, and this is how character you declare. Then after that, let's take a look at float data type. So float data type is a data type which we use to store the fractional values. So suppose I give the name it as a fractional and store 12.3 in it. So since float is a fractional data type, you can store any fractional value in it. But float is also 4 byte of data type. It takes 4 byte of storage in the memory to store this value. Then we have a double. Double is also a fractional data type in which you can store a fractional value. But the difference between the float and the double is that double can hold, as its name itself suggests, double. So it can store the double size of data than the float can store. Now let's move towards the boolean data type. What boolean data type is? Two kind of results will be there, like it may be true or false. So it is basically a logical data type in which you can true or false. So it's like a condition. I'm giving the name it as a condition, and I'm storing true in it. So this is how you declare the boolean kind of data type. Now we'll see the string data type. String data type is used to store the name or a string kind of data. So what does it mean? Let me give it a name, and I'm storing my name, which is Vidhanshu. So I have stored my name in it. So this is how you store the string in string kind of data type. Now you might have observed that these basic data types are having blue color, but string is in a green color. Why is it so? Because string is like not a basic data type, and string is a class. So we'll see about the classes and objects later in the video. Now let's move towards the second part. So as we have covered with the basic data types, I'll mark plus here. Now I'll go towards the basic input output in C++. Suppose I'm giving it a name var, and now I'm having a variable of type integer whose name is var, and I want to print. First of all, we'll take input in it so that we can print the taken input on the screen. So to take input in this variable, we use a cin function. So cin function, what does it do? From the keyboard, it takes the value and store in the variable. So if I run it, it will ask me for the input. So as I have entered 12 there, nothing will happen since I have not printed anything. So let's try to print it. We use cout function. So in the cout function, we give the name of that data variable which you want to print on the screen, and if I run it, it will again ask me for the input, and whatever input I will enter there, it will print on the screen. So suppose I have entered 12. As soon as I press enter, it has printed whatever the data I entered on the screen. So this is how input output operation works. You can also print strings on the screen. How? Like this. You write cout function, then since we know strings are written in the double quotes, we'll write like this, and if I want to print the apple on the screen, I will write like this, and if I run the program, it will print apple on the screen. So you can see that apple has been printed on the screen. So this is how basically the input output operation works. If you want to take more than one input, suppose I am having 3 variables here, a, b and c, and I want to take input in all of them, I can take input in all of them in a single line like this. And if I want to print all of them in a single line, I can print like this. Now what this endl mean? Endl means a new line character. Endl is same as that of writing /n. /n means new line character. It just move your cursor to the next line. So let me try running it. So if I run it and give some input like this, 12, 23 and 34, it will print the same result as I given as an input. Now there are no spaces between them because I haven't printed the spaces. So if I want to print the spaces, I will give like this. Then after B also, I'll give like this. Then after C, I don't need, because there is a new line character, so it will jump to the new line. So if again I give the inputs, it will print the same as I entered. So this is how you take input and output in the C++. Now let's move towards our next topic. Before that, let me mark plus it is. Now we'll be seeing conditional statements and loops in C++. So what basically the conditional statement and loop means? There may be possibilities that there are some conditions in your program. Like if the program is, you want to print even if the given number is even, and if you want to print the odd if the number given by the user is odd. So in such scenario, you will require to use conditions, because if the number is even, you need to do something else, and if the number is odd, you need to do something else. So for that purpose, let me create the simple program to demonstrate how the conditional statement works in C++. So suppose I am creating a variable n of integer type, and I am taking input. First of all, I'll print on the screen like input a number, enter a number. So I will take input from the user in it, and now as user told me that tell me the number which I entered, is it a even number or an odd number? So to do that, I'll be using a conditional statements. How I'll be using? So how the syntax of the conditional statement is? It is very simple. It says a keyword if, then we have the parenthesis in which you write the condition which will lead to the boolean value. It may be true or false, and if it is true, whatever the statement I'll be writing in this block will be executed. And later after that, if you can also write the else block, which will be like executed if this condition is false. So this is a combinedly, you can look it as a single statement. How does it works? Whatever the condition you write in this parenthesis, if it is true, it will execute these block. if block, we can say. And if it is false, it will execute this block, which is else block. Now let's write the condition. Now what would be the condition for the even number? We know that even number is a number which is when divided with 2 gives remainder 0. So we'll say if n mod 2, we haven't seen operators still yet, but let me tell you about the modulus operator. Modulus operator simply returns the remainder of this division. If you divide n with 2, it is returned by this modulus operator. So what our logic says, if we divide n with 2, the remainder should be 0. Then and then only we can say that number is even. So I'll print number is even, and I am also printing /n, even though it is not required. Else, we know that if the remainder will not be 0, then obviously the remainder will be 1 when divided with 2, because the possible remainders when you divide any number with 2 are 0 and 1. So we can directly write else statement like number is odd if it is not even. So now let's try our program that we created. So it is saying me to enter a number. Let me enter 45, which is an odd number. So output should be the number is odd. So you can see that the output is number is odd. So this is how the conditional block works. Now let's move towards the loops. Now let's take a simple scenario in which you have to write a program in which you want to print the number from 1 to 10. Now you will say that I will simply do like this: 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. You will do this. Yes, if you have to print the numbers space separately, you will say it is very simple. I can simply give spaces like this between all the numbers. Okay. But what if I say you are having 10,000 numbers and you want to print them space separately? So you are not gonna write like this. So how you will do? So the simple answer for this question is loop. You can use loop to print the numbers from 1 to 1000 very quickly and very easily. Let's say if you want to print the number from 1 to 1000, you can simply say like this: for int I equals to 0, not 0, it will be 1 because we want to print the number from 1. Then the condition should be I is less than or equal to 100 and I plus plus. Don't worry, I'll be explaining this syntax. So what does this syntax mean? This is simply a for keyword which is used to write a loop. Now in the for loop there are 3 compartments. This is the first compartment, this is the second compartment, and this is your third compartment. And these 3 compartments are separated by the semicolons. The first compartment is called as initialization. So you can do initialization here. Now the second compartment is called as condition compartment. You can write conditions here. And it is updation compartment. Okay. Suppose I am writing int I equals to 1. So this statement will be executed. Now later that the compiler reaches to the condition statement, conditional compartment. So I am writing I is less than equal to suppose 100. So it will execute this line. It will see if I is less than or equal to 100, since I is 1 as we initialize it. So this condition is true. Now the compiler will not go to this updation. So why compiler not go to the updation after this condition? So there is a reason. You will come to know it. So what happens? The compiler comes to the 5th line. It sees that it is a for loop. It go to the initialization compartment. Then it go to the conditional compartment. It see the condition. If it is true, it will go to this block and execute whatever the statements which are written in this block. So our aim is to print the numbers from 1 to 100. So I am printing I. Why I am printing I? Because I is gonna iterate from 1 to 1000. So after that, after the execution, the compiler goes to here and it increment the value of I by 1. What this I plus plus mean? I plus plus is nothing but I is equals to I plus 1. It means increment the value of I by 1. After this, the compiler will not go to the first compartment. It will go to the conditional block. Keep in mind that the first compartment is an initialization compartment and it executes only once throughout the lifetime of the for loop. It will not be executed more than one times. It will be executed only once. And later on, the conditional block and the updation block will be executed each time. The condition is checked every time, and if the condition is true, this block is executed. And as soon as this condition becomes false, we come out of this loop. So let's try running this program. So you can see that numbers from 1 to 100 have been printed on the screen. Why they are printed on the new line? Because I have given a new line character here. So this is how the loop works. There is also another kind of loop which we'll be discussing right now, which is also called as while loop. So this is the syntax of the while loop. Every program that you can write using for loop, it can also be written with the while loop. You might have a question in your mind that if they do same work and every problem that you are solving using for loop can be solved using while loop, then why it is necessary to have two loops? Basically there is a difference between both of them. Just the difference they have is usage. You use the for loop when you know that in which range you want to iterate, but you use the while loop when you don't know like in which range you want to iterate. I am having this n in which currently right now we are having 0. So you can write the condition here like while n is less than 10, you have to print hello on the screen followed by a space. Okay, only space. So this is a program which you can understand. It says declare a variable integer with the name n and store 0 in it. Now while n is less than 10, print this. But there is a one missing thing which is very necessary to do, and that thing is updation. We need to update n every time so that it will get incremented by 1. You can also write n plus equals to 1. We'll be seeing this what this operator is. This is also called as a assignment operator, and it simply does n is equals to n plus 1. You can also write it like this, or you can also write n plus plus that we use in the for loop. Now let's try running this program. So you can see that hello has been printed 10 times because we are iterating from 0. So this is how we use the while loop. Now as we have done with the conditional statements, let's take a look at functions. What functions are? So let's see what a function is. Basically a function is a block of code which can be used by calling. Means if you want to do a work many times, like as we have seen that if you want to find the number is even or not, so you can, if you need to write this condition many times like this. If you are having a variable n and you are taking input in it from the user scene n, and you will write n mod 2 equals to 0. So even though this statement is not that much difficult to write, but there may be some cases like if you want to find the factorial, if you want to find the Fibonacci series, if you want to find, or if you want to find the greatest common divisor of two numbers. So in all such scenarios you are not going to write the same code many times. So what you does is you can write a function. Now how to write a function? So to write a function, the main is itself is a function. Its syntax, the function has the same syntax as the main has. So you can say that you already know functions, but let's take a deep look at the functions, how they are created and how they are used. To create a function, you first give the data type, then you give the function name, then you give the parameters list, and then the function body. So this is very simple syntax that the function has. Now data type can be anything. It may be integer, it may be string, it may be character, it may be boolean. So in this case we'll be making boolean because we'll be creating a function which will tell us that the number we pass it, is it a even or not. So I'm giving the function name as is even. So what does this function accepts? This function accepts an integer variable. What does it mean? It means when you will call this function, you have to pass one integer variable to it. Then and then only it will give you the result. Now, since our function tells us if the number is even or not, we need to use the if statements. What you will do, you will check if n mod 2 is equals to 0. If n mod 2 is equals to 0, then we'll return true. Otherwise, we'll return false. Now what I wrote here. So it is very simple. It says if the number is even, return true. And if number is false, I mean if the number is not even and it is odd, then return false. So let's check if our function is working or not. So int n, scene n, I'm taking input in that n and I'm printing cout is even of n. So if I run this and enter the number 19, it should print 0 on the screen. Why? Because we have already seen that 1 means true and 0 means false. So as soon as I entered, it printed 0. Why? Because 19 is not even, it is odd, so 0 means false. So it simply says that it is not the even number. So this is how functions are used. Function can or cannot have the return type. So if your function simply prints here itself, like it is even, and here it prints suppose it is odd. So in this situation you don't need to return anything, so you can write it as void. Void is also kind of basic data type. It simply means you don't have anything to return. So since it does not return anything, you can see that there is a red dash. It says no operator matches this operand. This error means like this does not return anything, so you cannot print. You can run it, and if you enter the 12 and if you press the enter, it has printed it is even. So how these functions are useful to us? Basically functions are useful to us because we don't need to write the same code many times. The same set of code we can simply call with this simple statement, single line statement, instead of writing this much. So this reduces the code repetition and increases the code reusability. So this is what the function was. Now let's move toward the next topic by first of all let me mark plus, then let's move towards the operators in C++. So what are the operators are there in C++? So let me first remove all this. So operators. So let me go to the W3 website to show you that which type of operators we have in C++. We have arithmetic operators, we have assignment operators, we have comparison operators, logical operators, and bitwise operators. Bitwise operators will not be covering in this topic. If you want to learn bitwise operators, you can come to this website. I'll be providing this website description box below. So let's see what are the arithmetic operators. 7 arithmetic operators in C++. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, increment, and decrement. You all are aware with these operators already. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Let's take a look at modulus and increment and decrement operators. So let's go to our VS Code and let's see what these operator means. We have already seen about the modulus operator, but let me show you it one more time. Suppose we are having two variables a, and in b we are having suppose 34. So if you want to print the remainder when you divide b with a, that is 34 with 13, you can simply do like this, b mod a. So if you run the code, so it has printed 8 because 8 would be the remainder when you divide 34 with 13. Now let's take a look at increment and the decrement operator. Suppose I have a variable a in which I am having 10. So if you do a plus plus, the value of the a will increase by 1, and if I print it here, it will print 11. So 11 has been printed. Now there are two type of increment operators. They are pre-increment operator and post-increment operator. This is a post type of increment. Why it is called as post-increment? Because the plus plus sign is after the p, and also they both have a major difference, which I will be telling you. So what that difference is? Suppose you print plus plus a. So what does this mean? What does this plus plus a mean? Plus plus a means first increment the value of a, then use it. So if you do like this, it will print 11. You can see 11 has been printed. Now why 11 has been printed? Because it is a pre-increment operator. What it does, it first increment the value of a and then use the value whatever the a is having. If I do it like this, a plus plus, it will still print 10. Why it has printed 10? Because it is a post increment operator. What it does, it first use the value of a, whatever it is having, since you can see that a is having 10, but it increments the value of a after that. So if you print here a, it will not be 10, it will be 11. So first it will print 10 and then it has printed 11. As I told, it has been incremented. So this is pre-increment and post-increment operator. In the same way, we have pre-decrement and post-decrement operator. Just replace plus plus with minus minus. So if I do this, it should first print the 10, because we are using the post-decrement operator, but it means first use the value of a, then decrement it. So it has first printed 10 and then it printed 9. Now what if I write it like this? Minus minus a. So first it will decrement the value of a and then use it. So after decrementing the value of a by 1, it will become 9 and then it will be printed on the screen. Then since the value of a is 9, it will print it on the screen as a 9. So this is how pre-increment, post-increment, pre-decrement, post-decrement operator works. Let's move towards the assignment operators. So assignment operator is used to assign the value which is present on the right hand side to the left hand variable. First assignment operator you have already seen, which is equal to, which we use to store the value which is written on the right hand side to the variable which is on the left hand side. Suppose a is already having 11 in it and you want to store in such a way that a will not have 12, but whatever the value currently a is having, it will get add with this value. What I mean is, if I write it like this, a plus equals to 12, the current value of a will be 11 plus 12. If I run the program, it should print 23. So you can see that 23 has been printed, because a plus equals to 12, it simply means a is equals to a plus 12. As simple as that. Whatever the a value is having currently, it should get added with the right hand side value and it should stored in the a bag. In the same way, we are having this kind of assignment operator. It simply means whatever the value currently a is having, subtract the right hand side value from it and store back to a. So it will be having minus 1, since 11 minus 12 will be minus 1, and that minus 1 will be stored in a. So you can see that still 11 is getting printed because a was having 23. So I need to comment this statement and then I need to run it. So if I run it, it should have the minus 1. So you can see that minus 1 has been printed on the screen. So let's comment this statement and take a look at a multiplication is equals to 12. So what it does, whatever the value currently A is having, that will get multiplied with the 12, and whatever the result will be, that will be stored in the A. So it is giving me an error. Why it is giving me an error? Let's see. A does not name a type. A does not name a type. Basically, maybe I have selected it and then run it. So let me run it. So you can see that 132, which will be the correct output, has been printed on the screen. So in the same way, we have A divide by equals to 10 or 12, I can say. So what it does, it simply divides the value of A by 12, and whatever the result, whatever the coefficient will be, that will be stored in the A. So 0 will be printed on the screen. Then let's see another, which is A mod equals to 12. So what it does, it does the same. Whatever the value A is having, it will get divided by 12, and what will be the remainder, that will be stored to A. If I run it, you should see 11. As you can see that 11 has been printed on the screen. So let's move towards the comparison operator. So comparison operators are very simple operators. If you want to compare two numbers, you can use them. This is a equal to operator. It means if both the numbers which are present on the left hand side and the right hand side, not necessarily number, they may be string, they may be any kind of data which is comparable. So it will result true if they both are true, they both are same. Then this is a not equal to operator, which will which says like if the left hand side is not equal to right hand side, it will return true if the condition true. And this is greater than sign, which we use in the mathematics also. Greater than, it simply tells if the left hand side is greater than the right hand side. This is a less than sign, which tells if the left hand side is strictly less than the right hand side. In the same way, we are having this greater than or equal to. It says if the left hand side is greater or equal to the right hand side. Then we have the less than or equal to sign. It tells us the left hand side is less than or equal to right hand side or not. So these are the comparison operators. So as we have covered all type of operator, let's move towards the pointers and references. So let me mark it as a plus, and let's go to the our program, and let's understand what the pointer is. Pointer is simply a data type only, but it is called as a derived data type. Why is it called why it is called as derived data type? Because it is derived from the existing data types that we are having. So what is pointer? Pointer is a variable which stores the address of another variable. So let me show you by coding it. Suppose p is a variable having 12. Now if I want to store the address of this p in a variable, because you know that what does this statement do? It simply allocate the memory to store this 12. The memory has already been allocated, and each memory block is having some addresses. So if I want to store the address of that memory block into some variable, I can store it using a pointer. So I'm having this pointer, and I can let me give the name of the pointer as a ptr, and I'm storing address of p. So this is basically the address of operator, which will extract the address of that p from the variable name, and it will be stored in this variable ptr. Now let me explain you this 7 number line once again. It is the integer type of pointer. Why it is integer? Because I'm storing the address of the variable which is also integer. So whatever type of address you want to store in the pointer, you need to give it data type. You need to give a data type to it. So I have given data type as integer, and it is a pointer, and I'm storing the address of the variable p in it. So if I print the ptr, it will print some random hexadecimal value on the screen, because address is hexadecimal. So you can see that random hexadecimal value has been printed on the screen. It is basically the address of our variable p. Now if I want to get the value present at that particular address, you can use value at operator. So if I run it, it will print 12 on the screen. So you can see that 12 has been printed on the screen. So this is how the pointer works. Pointer is important because it is also used in the dynamic memory allocation. It is used to link two nodes together. The first node can point to the next node, and thus it will create a link. So this is how the pointer works. Now let's see what are the references. So let me create a variable named p. Again, I'm storing 12 in it. Now what basically the reference is? Reference means to create alias for the existing variable. Suppose variable var. Suppose var. It should be suppose var. So I can simply store p in it. Now what this 7th number line means? It means store the reference of the variable p. Now like what will happen by doing this? Now you can say that the variable var and the variable p both are same. Both are pointing to the same memory location, just they are having different names. If I suppose say var plus plus and I print the p, see what I did? I incremented the value of var by 1 and I printed p. So what should be the expected answer? The answer should be 12 only. But no, if you are thinking that it would be 12, it is wrong. It will be 13. Why? Because as I told, p and var become same. Why? Because var is a reference of p, means they both are pointing to the same memory location. So same memory location, since they are pointing to the same memory location, if I change the var, the value at p will also get changed. In the same way, if I increment the value of p plus plus, the value of the var will also get changed, because they both can be said as a same variable. So you can see that 13. So this is the concept of pointers and references. Now let me give you the quick look at the array, how the C++ array is formed and what is its structure, and I will be telling you the like application of the pointer there. The complete array is created using pointer. What array is? Basically, I'm not going to cover complete array because that will be covered in the next video. I'm just giving you a brief introduction about it. So array is declared like this. You give the data type, then you write the name of the array, then you the square brackets, then you give the square brackets. Now these square brackets are used to specify the size of the array. Now what basically the array is? Array is a contiguous blocks of memories. Like you have already declared the single variable integer a. Now what if you require such 10 variables, 10 integer variables? So in that case, you surely require, you are not gonna declare it like this: a, then b, then c, then d, then e. No, you are not going to declare the variables like this. There is a solution for this problem. Is you can directly create the array of 10 integers like this. So what does this syntax means? The array is of integer type, means each block in the array will contain the integer type of data, and there are such 10 blocks in which you can store. So you can see this, and you can directly store like this. If you want to store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, you can store the data in the array like this. If you store up till 5 only, so at that time the remaining blocks will be initialized with a 0. So no necessary to completely fill it. So, but in this case I'm filling it completely. So if you want to access the particular element in the array, you can simply access like this. Array of, suppose I want to access this 3. Since the array is 0 based, means the first element is accessed using the 0th index. So obviously you can access this 3 using the second index, 0, 1 and 2. So I'm printing 2 here, and let me run the program, and you will see that 3 will be getting printed on the screen. So you can see 3 has been printed on the screen. Now why I have written like this? There is a reason behind it, and the reason is the name of the array is itself is a pointer. The name of the array is a base pointer. Why is it called as base pointer? Because it points to the first element of the array. Now let me show you something. If I print like this, it should print some random hexadecimal value. it will not gonna print complete array. It will print some random hexadecimal value. Why it printed the hexadecimal value? Because array is a pointer and it contains some address. If I print value at r, because we have seen that this star represent the value at operator, so if I say value at r, it will print 1. Why it will print 1? Because I said the name of the array is itself a base pointer, so it will point to the base location, which is the first index. So if you want to see that these elements are stored in the contiguous memory location or not, you can simply do like this: int I equals to 0, I is less than 10, since the size of the array is 10, I plus plus, and then you can print cout r plus I. What it will do? You can do pointer arithmetic. This will tell you about the pointer arithmetic. This is also a pointer. This is a pointer in which you are adding some integer. It is 0. It is iterating from 0 to 9. So each time some value will be get added to this array. First time it will 0, then 1 and 2, then up till 9. So what it will do? It will increment the value of that array. Basically it will add value to the pointer. So if I run it, it will print the addresses, but you can see that they are having difference of 4 each. See, 0, then plus 4 is 4, then 4 plus 4 is 8, then 8 plus 4 is 12, and 12 is represented at C in hexadecimal, and so on. So like this you can see the pointer is getting incremented by 4. Why it is getting incremented by 4? Because the pointer is of type integer, and you know that integer is of 4 bytes. So for that purpose it is incrementing it by 4. Now let me tell you the actual magic. Why you write that square brackets while accessing the index? Now what I did this, I simply said whatever the address it will get converted, you just have to print the value at that particular address. So if I do this and run it, it will print all the elements in the array. This is a base pointer. This is I am adding each time, and this is the value at. So you can see that all the elements in the array have been printed on the screen. You can observe this. You can compare this and this array of I. You are nothing doing. Why? And this also reveals that why array is 0 based, because first it will get converted to the r plus 0, and it will simply returns the base pointer, and value at base pointer is that 1. Then it will then I will become 1, then that will get added to the base pointer, so this will point to this one, and value at this one is 2, so 2 will get printed. So this one is same as that of this one, and this is the answer why array is 0 based. I hope you understand this concept. So in the next video this concept will be elaborated very well. This was just an introduction to the array and some pointer arithmetic we did. Now let's move to our last topic, which is classes and objects. So let me remove this. Now what is a class and object? So in many scenarios what happens, you need to create your own data type. Like suppose if you want to create like a program in which you want to store the records of the student. So you are not gonna, like, if you want to store the record of the 10 students, so what you will have to do, suppose you want to store name of the student, roll number of the student, and mobile number. So what you need to do, you will create the string for the name, and you will name it name1 because the student will be student1. Then in the same way you need to create such 10 variables. In the same way, for storing the mobile number of the students, you need to create variables like number1, number2, and so on up till 10 times. In the same way, to store the roll number, you need to create a variable like roll1, roll2, and so on. But this is not the efficient way and not basically programmer friendly way. So to make it easier, you can create a template for the student type of data. Each student will be having basically 3 attributes. How to create that? you can create using class. How class is created? Using the class keyword. You give the class keyword, then you give the class name. In this case our class name is student. Then you need to give this block statement. This semicolon is very necessary in case of class. Now inside class you can create your attributes. Now what attribute is, and what is this public which I wrote here? Now there are three kinds of access specifier in the class. They are public, private and protected. We'll see what public and private is, because protected is not our topic. So public means whatever the data which I'll be declaring inside the class, suppose data, this will be accessible outside this class. Means you can access this data outside this class. If it would have been private, then this data can only be accessible within this class. Now I know that you didn't got it, like what did I say, but we'll see that using a practical example. So before that, let me create some attributes, which will be a number, then the name, and then a roll number. Okay, so this is a student. Each student is having a name, having a roll number and having a roll number. So let me make it public first, and I'll be explaining you about the access specifier shortly. So this is our class we created. Now this class is nothing but the data type that which we created according to our need. That's why it is also called as a user defined data type. Now we can create variables of the data type student, like this. Student, suppose student1. So this is how you can create variable of the student. Now each student is having these three properties. Now one more thing, as I told you in the basic data type topic, that the green, whatever the green comes, that is a class. So this standard is std is also class, this is string is also class. You can see that as we created the student, it is also in a green color because it is a class. Now we created this. Now inside student, to access anything, you can use the dot operator. As soon as I enter dot here, you can see that these three properties I can see. What these properties are, these are the same properties that we created in the class. You can access them, like name is equals to, you can store name, you can store suppose GDSC. In the name you can store suppose GDSC. Then in the student one dot roll, you can store 12 in it. In the student, then the student one dot number, you can store any number, random number in it. So this is how you can use this particular kind of class which you created. Now if I do this as a private, it will give me an error. You can see that it, as soon as I write it as a private, it turns to red. And what this error says, student name is inaccessible. Why it is inaccessible? As I already told you, that if you declare the variables or the properties in the class as a private, they are accessible only inside the class. They cannot be accessed outside the class. So in this case I'll be making them public. So since they are public, they can be accessed outside the class. Now you can also create functions in it. They are also functions which are created inside the class are also called as methods. So I'm creating the function like setData. What the setData name itself suggests, that it gonna initialize the variables. It will set some data. So what I will do, I will say like this: cout enter name, and I'll scan the name from the user like this. So this is a setData function which returns nothing, but what it does is simply take user input and store it into the number variable. In the same way, you can also create a get data function. What it will do, it will help us to get the data. So it will simply print the name here, whatever the name we have got from the user there. So instead of doing or initializing those value here, you can simply say student1 dot set data first. You can set a data, then student1 dot get data. So if you'll do like this and you run it, it will ask you for the name. It will ask you the father name. Suppose I enter GDSC, and it has not printed because I have basically I have printed the name, but I have taken the number. So yeah, basically this is the mistake I did. It should be name. So let me run it again. When I run it again and say GDSC, you can see that GDSC has been printed. So this is how classes and object works. Now you might be getting the question that how this basically the class would be helping us to implement the data structure. Before telling you that, I need to explain you about linked list. Linked list is data structure which contains nodes, and these nodes are basically not contiguous. The memory is allocated to these nodes on a random blocks, on a random memory locations. They are not on a contiguous. So in the linked list, in the node there are two compartments in each node. The first compartment is for the storing data, and the next compartment is storing for the pointer of the same type that this node have, so that it can point to the next node. So this pointer will point to this node. It will also have this data pointer. It will also have data and the pointer. In such a way, this links will be formed and linked list will be formed by forming such nodes. At the end, since there are no more nodes, it will contain null, means it will not point to any other node. So the address of this first node will be stored in a head. Head is also kind of node pointer. Node pointer means the pointer which will store the address of the data type node. So it will store the address of this node, and such a way the linked list will be created. So to create this node, we need class. We need to have a knowledge that like how the classes are created and how the data is accessed from the class. So also I'll be telling you about this arrow operator. There is an arrow operator in the C++ which will be using to access the data inside this. I hope that you have understand that how linked list looks. So now let's try to create this node using class. So simply to create the node, you will say the keyword class, then I'm giving it the name node. So this is node I created. Then in the public specifier, I will say data and the node pointer next. I'll be explaining you what I did. I created the class with the name node. Then I given the specifier. It means that you should be able to access these data outside the class. Then we are having two compartments, as I already told you that the linked list node has two compartments. The first compartment is a data, and the another compartment is a next compartment. And observe that it is having the pointer. It is a pointer of type node. It simply means that it is gonna point to the node. It will be storing the address of the node. So let me tell you by creating one node and how we use the arrow operator to access the data inside the class. So let me create one node. Suppose I created the node node A. This is node A. Now also we need to create a constructor here. And constructors do not have return types. Now also we need to create constructors here. Now I'll be telling you like what constructor is. Basically constructor is a special kind of function which does not return anything, but the main purpose of the in the constructor is to initialize the attributes or the data within the class. So you can simply say data is equals to, and you can pass arguments in it. So it is simply a function, nothing else. But the difference is that it do not return anything. It simply takes the inputs at the time of initialization. So now we have created this constructor in which we are accepting this data from the initialization, and we are storing here. So as we are accepting that from the initialization, we need to pass something here. So I have passed 12. Now what happened here? This 12 is passed to this constructor, and that has been stored to the node data part. As you can see that I'm storing that data what I passed to it in this data part. So that has been stored in this data part. Now if you want to access that data, you can simply do like this, a dot data part. So if you do this, it will simply print 12. 12 has been printed on the screen. Now so here I have created a pointer of type node and stored the address of these node which I created in it. Now using this pointer also I can access the data from this object. How I can do that? I can do that using the arrow operator. So this is the arrow operator. If there is a situation in which you are not having object, but you are having that address of that object in some kind of pointer, so you can still access the data inside that object using this arrow operator. So as soon as I write this arrow operator, you can see that I'm getting two suggestions. One of them is the data and the next. So if I want to print the data, I can simply say data, and if I run it, okay, it should be /n. When I run it, so you can see that 12 has been printed, which was stored in the data compartment of this node A. In the same way, if there is any kind of function, suppose void print function which prints something like data, then you can also call that print function using this ptr, that in which you are having the address of the object. So you can see that data is there. You can call it, but not data. Basically it should be print. Print is a function, so to call it you need to give this parenthesis as well, because you know that calling function should have parenthesis. So as soon as you call that function, the data is printed. So I hope guys you understood each and every topic in this video, and thank you so much for watching. Let's meet in another video.